All right, so the first tip I have for speeding up your workflow in Cavalry is about when you want to add layers. And you basically do this all the time, and you can talk about deformers, filters, behaviors, and it's all layers inside of Cavalry. Now, you can add layers faster by pressing this plus icon or control dot or period. And here you can both search, but you can also just drag down and you'll be able to find anything you want, and you can experiment with different things you haven't tried before. Now, if you know what you want, you can search for it, and then you can hit enter on it, and you can also hit tab again to enable the search, and then you can search for a new thing, and you can also use the arrow keys to select a specific thing. Now, the second tip is about when you want to render multiple scenes with the same settings, because when you try to just render a simple scene like we have here, and you might want to change some settings inside of the render manager. Let's say we want to make it transparent, so we disable the alpha, and then we want to go ahead and change some things specific to this project. Let's say we want to change the frame range mode to custom range, and then set it to start at 1 and end at 90. And then we might want to change the render quality, I don't know why, maybe low. And then you might want to change the format. In this case, we could set it to QuickTime, and then the ProRes codec would be 4444. And then now that we're ready to render, we can hit render. Problem is that when we go into the next scene we have, in this case, we have a new composition over here. That's just an example, but when we want to, for example, render this in the same way, we can see that right now it's actually the same until you notice that it's still keeping the composition 1 we had, and we want to render the composition 2, so we can delete that from the render queue, and then we can add the current composition. And we'll see that everything is reset. And if you're working with a lot of compositions, it's quite painful to sit through each and every one and change the settings. So we can do something else. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to go ahead and first of all change all the settings back to how we want them to be for every single composition. So we want to change the frame range mode in this case, and then maybe the render quality. And then I might change these two settings within the format. And once you're ready, you can click this little button, and this allows us to create presets. So we can hit save preset, and then we can name the preset whatever we want. Let's set this one to transparent. And then we have two settings here. I like to disable the first setting, reset layer, since I then can just do some tweaks for each and every composition and still add it and won't remove those changes, and the other one I leave as is. Then we can save it and we can click the presets again, and we'll now see our new preset. So we can try to use this on our third composition that we have in this test. So let's remove the compositions we have in the render manager, and let's go into the last composition here, and we can go into the render manager by pressing Alt B. And we can then hit the current composition, and we will see the default settings right now, but we can go ahead and go in and, for example, change the file name first to, I don't know, 3. And then we can go into the presets here, and we'll see if we press transparent. It won't change the 3 number, but it will change everything we've set on that preset. And this is quite a time-saving trick. And now we can move on to the third and final tip, which is also my favorite. And this starts off by adding some keyframes to whatever cube or object you have, and then let's move it along the playhead and change the position. And this is just an example, and I'll do a little bit of animating here, and you can see that we now have this simple but also very boring animation, and that's because we don't have any smoothing on it. Now, the usual way about adding that would be to first of all go ahead and go in and select the two attributes you've changed, and then go into the graph editor. Then you would have to zoom out, and then we can go ahead and drag click over the whole thing, and then right click. And if you misclick, you'll have to do the whole thing again by dragging over them. Then you have to right click on one of these lines and then go into magic easing. And here you would be able to select any of the following. Now, the problem with this is it takes a long time, especially if you're doing a lot of animations. So there's a way faster way to doing, for example, this animation right here. And the way we can do this is by, first of all, having the simple basic animation again, then just dragging over all the keyframes and then hit Shift and then 1. Now this will add the basic animation that we just saw with the smoothing of ease in, ease out. And you can just change this while it's playing. You can hit Shift 1, Shift 2, Shift 3, Shift 4, and then Shift 5 to go back to the original. Now, if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing, and if you want to support me even more, you can buy me a coffee, links in the description. Thank you for watching.